The South China Sea has long been a theater of tension, with China extending its reach through artificial islands. Recently, the Philippines made a bold move, challenging the status quo and altering the strategic landscape. This act has captured global attention, signaling the end of passive resistance. It represents a pivotal moment for maritime security in Asia. The Philippines' action reinforces its claims and tests China's resolve. For the US and allies, this is a game-changer, providing a foundation for collective defense. The Philippines has shown that even smaller nations can stand up to superpowers. As we delve deeper, we'll explore the implications for US-China relations and international law. The waves from this act will be felt for years to come. At the heart of this story is the BRP Sierra Madre, a rusted ship grounded on Ayungin Shoal. Serving as a military outpost, it symbolizes Philippine sovereignty in the Spratly Islands. Recently, the Philippines launched a major operation to repair and fortify the ship. This act counters China's strategy of waiting for the ship to disintegrate. It marks a shift from passive endurance to active assertion of maritime rights. The Philippines is signaling a long-term commitment to defending its claims. This bold move forces China to either escalate or accept a permanent Philippine presence. Conducted in broad daylight, it was a strategic choice to rally international support. By completing the mission, the Philippines demonstrated newfound confidence. It changes the psychological dynamic of the entire dispute. The US Navy's Pacific Fleet is watching the Philippines' recent move with keen interest and a sense of strategic anticipation. For years, the Pacific Fleet has monitored the shifting tides of power in the region, and this development marks a significant turning point. The decision by the Philippines to take a firmer stance in the South China Sea is seen as a bold assertion of sovereignty, one that could reshape the balance of power in these contested waters. This action validates the American strategy of empowering allies to defend their own sovereignty and interests. By supporting partners like the Philippines, the US Navy believes it can create a more resilient and capable network of regional security. A senior US Admiral described the Philippines' move as a strategic masterstroke, fundamentally changing the calculus for Beijing. It signals that the days of unchecked Chinese expansion may be coming to an end, and that the region is no longer willing to accept intimidation as the status quo. China's long-standing strategy of intimidation and incremental advances is now directly challenged by a more fortified and determined position from Manila. The presence of Philippine vessels in contested waters sends a clear message that they are ready to defend their maritime rights. The Philippines has drawn a clear line in the water, both literally and figuratively, putting the onus on China to decide its next move. This act of defiance is not just symbolic, it has real operational consequences in the region. The Mutual Defense Treaty with the Philippines now stands as a powerful deterrent, signaling to any potential aggressor that the US is committed to defending its allies. This treaty, once seen as a diplomatic formality, has become a cornerstone of regional security. The move directly counters China's so-called salami-slicing tactics, demonstrating that alliances in the Indo-Pacific are not just paper tigers. Instead, they are living, breathing partnerships capable of real action and collective defense. It sends a powerful message to regional partners and smaller nations that standing up to pressure is not only possible, but effective. The Philippines' example could inspire others to take similar steps in defense of their own sovereignty. The US military sees this as invaluable, strengthening the network of alliances and partnerships that underpin peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific. Every act of resolve by an ally reinforces the collective security architecture. The Philippines' action is a bold slice back against coercion, reinforcing the US-led security architecture and showing that smaller nations can make a significant impact when backed by strong alliances. It demonstrates that the Indo-Pacific alliances are not only capable of coordinated action, but are also willing to act decisively when their interests are threatened. This move by the Philippines inspires other nations to assert their claims and resist Chinese expansionism, potentially setting off a wave of renewed confidence and cooperation across Southeast Asia. The phrase, "it's too late now," is more than just a statement. It's a signal that a critical threshold has been crossed in the South China Sea dispute. It marks a moment when the balance of power, the options available, and the very nature of the conflict have fundamentally shifted. For China, the window to assert uncontested control over the sea may have closed. Any further attempts to dominate the region now risk open confrontation. rather than quiet acquiescence from its neighbors. China's increasingly aggressive tactics, once effective at intimidating smaller nations, have now backfired spectacularly. Instead of isolating its rivals, Beijing has driven them into the arms of the United States, forging new partnerships and alliances that would have seemed unlikely just a few years ago. The Philippines' bold decision to stand its ground is the clearest evidence of this dramatic shift. Manila's actions have become a rallying point for other Southeast Asian nations, signaling that resistance is possible. China's long-term strategy of waiting for the Philippine outpost to crumble has failed. Instead of eroding, the resolve of the Philippines has only hardened, and the world is watching. Now Chinese leaders face a stark choice: either accept the growing Philippine presence in disputed waters, or escalate the situation and risk a direct military conflict, an outcome with unpredictable consequences. For the United States, too late means that avoiding confrontation may no longer be possible. The US is now more deeply entangled in the region's security than ever before. The era of strategic ambiguity, where intentions were left deliberately unclear, is ending. Clearer lines are being drawn and the stakes are higher. The risk of miscalculation has grown, binding the US more tightly to its allies' actions. Every move by the Philippines could now trigger a much larger response. The US must now plan for scenarios where it is called upon to defend the Philippines directly, preparing for rapid escalation and complex military operations. This new reality demands closer military coordination, more frequent joint patrols, and a constant state of readiness between the two allies. The Philippines' decisive action has called China's bluff, exposing the limits of Beijing's strategy and creating a formidable obstacle to its ambitions. The strategic game has fundamentally changed. The old playbook, relying on intimidation and delay, may no longer work, and returning to previous strategies could be impossible. The future of the region will be shaped by these new realities, as nations adapt to a world where the stakes are higher, the alliances stronger, and the risks of miscalculation ever present. The South China Sea conflict has deep roots involving multiple nations. The dispute is not just between the Philippines and China, it includes Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. These claims are based on historical records and interpretations of international law. The US-Philippine relationship has been central, with a history of military cooperation. In the mid-1990s, China began its assertive expansion, occupying features like Mischief Reef. The Philippines challenged China's claims at The Hague, winning a landmark ruling in 2016. The recent fortification of the BRP Sierra Madre is a response to decades of encroachment. It embraces the tribunal victory, turning legal success into physical reality. The Philippines is forging a new assertive path forward, revitalizing its US alliance. The Philippines' bold and unprecedented action has dramatically shifted the balance of power in the South China Sea, a region long dominated by China's assertive presence. By standing firm at the Second Thomas Shoal, Manila has sent a clear message to both Beijing and the world. The status quo is no longer unchallenged. Where the dynamic was once heavily skewed in China's favor, the equation now includes the growing resolve and determination of smaller nations, who are no longer willing to be sidelined or intimidated. The Philippines' decisive move has inspired other claimant states, such as Vietnam and Malaysia, to more confidently assert their own maritime claims, emboldening a regional pushback against unilateral actions. This new assertiveness also strengthens the US position in the region, transforming the US-Philippine alliance from a largely symbolic partnership into an active, operational force for regional stability. The alliance is now forward-looking and dynamic, with both nations conducting joint patrols, sharing intelligence and coordinating strategies to deter further aggression. For China, the loss of initiative is a significant blow to its long-term strategy of gradual expansion and intimidation, forcing Beijing to reconsider its approach. The fortified BRP Sierra Madre, manned and supplied despite constant pressure, has become a permanent and symbolic problem for Beijing, representing the limits of Chinese power. The balance of power is no longer defined solely by China's actions. It is now shaped by a growing coalition of regional and international actors determined to uphold the rules-based order. Other countries are actively shaping the strategic environment, turning the South China Sea into a truly contested region where no single power can dominate unopposed. This act of defiance by the Philippines has shattered the perception of Chinese inevitability, inspiring both governments and ordinary citizens across Southeast Asia to demand a greater say in their own future. The region is now more multipolar than ever before, with new opportunities for collective action, cooperation, and a shared commitment to peace and stability in these contested waters. The alliance between the US and the Philippines has been revitalized. The current Philippine government has realigned its strategy, strengthening ties with the US. This reborn alliance is visible in increased joint military exercises and new military sites. The fortification of the BRP Sierra Madre is the centerpiece of this partnership. The US provides support and deterrence, empowering the Philippines to lead. This partnership sends a message of reliability and strength across the Indo-Pacific. It demonstrates a new model of integrated deterrence, combining diplomatic, economic, and military power. The US-Philippine alliance is now a dynamic force shaping regional security. This renewed strength is crucial in managing challenges from an assertive China. The situation in the South China Sea is poised on a knife's edge. One path is a tense but stable status quo, with China protesting but avoiding conflict. A more dangerous possibility is escalation, risking a major confrontation. A third path involves diplomacy, with the Philippines leveraging its stronger position. The US and allies must show resolve, conducting joint patrols and keeping communication open. The Philippines has taken a calculated risk, aiming for a stable regional order. The challenge is to consolidate gains without stumbling into conflict. The next few months will be critical in determining the region's path. The choices made in Beijing, Manila, and Washington will shape the future. The region's stability depends on careful navigation of these potential paths. The fortification of the BRP Sierra Madre is a turning point in the South China Sea saga. The Philippines has broken the narrative of passive acceptance of Chinese expansion. This act demonstrates that smaller nations can push back with legal legitimacy and alliances. It re-energizes the US-Philippine alliance, transforming it into a vibrant partnership. The Philippines has shifted the balance of power, putting China on the defensive. The phrase, "it's too late now," underscores the heightened stakes. The risk of conflict has increased, with clearer lines drawn. The world watches China's response, which will have long-term consequences. This moment is pivotal, signaling a new direction for the region. The future of the South China Sea will be defined by the courage and resolve shown by the Philippines.